Okay, guys, we're gonna continue with the class. Now I'm referring to slide number 29. As you can see clearly, inshallah, from your side. So remember that we finished the classical jurisprudence, uh, not jurisprudence jurists, but philosophers. They did not specifically talk about came with what you call it, theory of law, but they did mention about something related to law. So what we have to do from the classical group is to be able to decipher or summarize the thing that is related to law. And if the exam situation, you are to only highlight the areas that they mention about law. Yeah, but everything that they said is related to law, no matter what, right? It's just a matter of they did not say it explicitly that they are talking about law. However, we are the one that is understanding the nature of things, which is to regulate society behavior. It is all about understanding how law comes about. So if you were to understand them, then you when you apply to the current understanding of your study of law, then it makes sense. Yeah. If you don't get what they are saying with relation to the law, this is where you have the avenue to ask me. Yeah. So either in the what they call it the other day. We haven't done the tutorial, right? But before, even without the tutorial, you just can WhatsApp me at any time, asking me of anything. Yeah, be it on classical philosophers or even any other areas that you might be thinking of or read about. Okay, so feel free to WhatsApp me. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Yes, and if you want to make it known to everyone else, because ilmu kan, kalau kita discuss sekali dengan ramai-ramai, okay, we put it under the group WhatsApp, then it is much better. But some of you might, be shy, asking question, and you feel comfortable to have a one-to-one, then by all means, please proceed with that. The fact that I'm not receiving any questions worries me, or maybe you might be, we are going slow. This is the third week, kan? So kita baru masuk, the area of content that is important. You can chat, I'm looking at the chat, and sometimes I might miss it, but you can always do the chatting, and remind me. Somebody remind me that somebody is asking question. Okay, the third area that we are going to look in today is the area where the drugs, or the majority or the main focus of Juris 1, which is the modern period, meaning from the 1500 to 1950s. Yeah. The postmodern, as I already mentioned, you might be looking at it now on the right side, and then that is covered under Juris 2. So modern period, we are going to cover all those juries here. Okay, if you look at this slide, the classical, we can see it as macam mana nak cakap, the classical is more focused of the individual. They just want individual to change. By changing the individual, then the individual will be able to see the law better, to understand the law, to criticize the law, to accept the law, to obey the law. It all boils down to the individual understanding of themselves. Okay, once you self-aware, then there is not much issue that you're going to go through, right? So that is the approach of the classical so-called philosophers or jurists. They want you to be aware, and how to be aware is for you to think, for you to reason. Yeah, as you can see from Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, and so on. What they want is that to, for example, Socrates, right? You are to have a Socratic uh, discussion, meaning you are to question the knowledge or the belief that you have currently, because the knowledge and the belief that you have currently is being tainted by people interpretation. You know, somebody is giving you or forcing you, you know, when you are being raised as a person, you know, from child you are being educated by your parents, influenced by them, things like that. So it is now to question everything. Since we are able to think, it is better for us to know what it is. Yeah. So just rather than accepting the thing as it is, we have to question more. So if you are aware, then you know what is right and what is wrong. Once you know what is right, what is wrong, then you can derive to the concept of justice. Then this concept of justice to be applied to the society. And when you look at the society, then you see the relevance of law towards the society. Meaning, if you follow this route, the efforts that you are going to take in order for you to make the society understand the law is going to be more. Yeah, more efforts has to be made because you have to educate the individual. For example, when you go to when you were young, you are not exposed to legal rights. Yeah, the law that is being implemented throughout our country. Yeah, so the law that we learn is only when you register yourself as a student. So for those who have not joined Asasi or undergo the legal study, they are not exposed to their rights and duties, because law is about rights and duties, right? So for those people studying other areas, other discipline, they do not know their rights. Yeah, say for example, if you learn about contract law, you study about how to make a law valid. So in your own life or in your what they call family transaction, you will be able to help them out. Yeah, to indicate what are the what would be your rights and duties, or the person that enter into the agreement, what would be the duty and rights of that person. So we can actually prevent certain things of contractual failure to happen prior to the agreement. Okay, so but this doesn't happen because when you are in your primary school, secondary school, no exposure was given in terms of legal awareness. So this is what, or not even a legal awareness, but critical thinking of yourself, trying to evaluate. So we were bombarded with what they call it, knowledge, and the chances of us uh, clearing those knowledge is not allowed. For example, learning agama, so you are being discouraged of asking questions that that you have in your mind. So the mental state of the student or individuals more towards accepting the modern approach. Modern approach is more concentrating on the law rather than the individual. The law is being implemented toward the society, and from the society, it is justified, saying that this is justice. Yeah, because if you are staying in North Korea, okay, the law that is implemented to the society is bringing the justice, the so-called justice, in from the perspective of people who are in power. As compared to classical, the government doesn't want to spend money to make the individuals of the nation aware of themselves. Yeah, this is self-discovery. But when it comes to modern, it is better. It is more less effort, yeah, for the government to spend money by just concentrating to come up with the law, where the society will follow the law, and hopefully that will bring justice. Now, justice is very subjective because you don't know whether it is justice or not. Because people can always say to you, "This is justice," and from that you should be able to know what is right, what is wrong. You know, people, as I mentioned, in North Korea, they think that the lifestyle that they are having, meaning, uh, you know, as compared to those. Actually, recently I saw a documentary about that. When they look at the development of the modernization of the countries elsewhere in the world, they were saying it as a fiction, yeah, something that is not real. You know, people are lying about what is happening in worldwide, and in terms of modernity. Uh, it goes to the extent, yeah, that concept of right and wrong is based on the law that was imposed on the society. Then for those able to think, then you would be able to go to that individual level, and you are able to see whether it is right or wrong. In our situation, in class, uh, the law that we apply today in our society is towards the is looking from the modern side. So you, as the individual, at the end of the spectrum, you are to evaluate the law that is being implemented. Understanding of the law is crucial for you in order for you to move forward when you practice later on, either as a judge or lawyer or anyone that is in power. You should be able to understand the concept of law that is being applied, or you are going to yourself apply the law. Yeah, maybe because you are the officer in charge of a department, whereby you have 30 staff with you, then the law that you are going to come up, because you are given that authority to create laws, yeah, rules and laws, yeah, and that one is based on what type of approach that you are going to take. Yeah. And if you are going to be a classical person that wants your staff to open up and understand, but that's good. Yeah, it would make sense of the law that you come up with, because individual can rationalize. But if you sort of like a dictator mode, whereby you implement the law, and it is easy for you to do that, but the repercussion of it, it depends on whether you have taken the right path or not. You, as the creator of the law or rules, is choosing the right method or not. Okay, so that is the idea. Next, if you are the individual approach, yeah, you are more about asking people to think. Okay, as that classical is asking us to do, you're trying to rationalize things, like this rational argument, where number one, all humans are mortal. Plato is a human, therefore Plato is a mortal, and this is logic, yeah? Logic argument. This logical argument or rational argument is different if you were to apply the modern approach. Modern approach is more rhetoric, meaning how they are able to influence you. They can influence you in so many ways. So people, when they want to get their message accepted, they will make sure that you are able to accept. Yeah, by convincing you, not in a rational manner, but it's more on a moral argument. Yeah. So they will come up with murder is distasteful, murder is prohibition through law, and then we have to prohibit it through law. And on top of that, murder is also advantageous to us. So therefore, one should not commit murder. Okay, so that is the approach that the law is being applied by the society, i.e., the government, towards us, and the outcome is that at the end of the day, you do not want to commit murder because its effects, yeah, the effects that it might have. So this might be clear for you to see that obviously murder is distasteful, right? But what about issues that is vague in manner? Yeah? For example, mercy killing, okay, euthanasia, abortion. Yeah, if you take away your religion, right, uh, you put it aside, then the subject is going to be very contagious. Yeah, I mean, meaning you can argue either A or B, whether you like it or are you a pro-life or pro-choice. So it depends on you. Okay, but it depends on the argument. Like in the US, you see Trump, the approach that he is taking right now is more towards the Christian Orthodox about what they call it, the decision of whether a person is able to abort or not, right? But decision has already been made by the highest court over there to legalize abortion. But it is a fight, you know, law can change depending on who is in control of the society and the ability to come up with a proper law to ensure that everyone follow it or everyone abide to it. Any questions so far? You can stop me at any time. Have question. Why is modern period? Is it less effort? Yeah, it is less effort because it is simple. Say for example, I give you one example. The government, how much money that the government needs to do in order to change a person uh, to make him better. It's quite tedious to concentrate each individual in the society because the society is getting bigger and bigger. So it's going to be tedious for the government. Tedious means economic resources have to be spent a lot more to change the individual. Okay, say for example, economically, if you were to concentrate on a person, the government doesn't care about you. The government is only giving you a certain opportunity, right? A certain opportunity. They are not seeing you by individual perspective. They are seeing you as a group. Yeah. If I were to give you in a society where they took the society as a group, the opportunity for you to study. So in order for you to study, you have to get good grades. When you are having good grades, then you are able to continue your university studies. However, they do not go to the ground and looking at those people from the rural areas. Why these people are obviously by majority, they are the minority when it comes to the opportunity to go to universities because they were born in a poor family, not able to have some advantages in terms of education. So the government do not want to spend money to go to the extent identifying this particular person, the family, and then you have kids, and then the potential of the kids by doing some kind of analysis in order to check the IQ, whether the IQ is good enough, you know, to pursue. But some people, if you look at those people from the areas, they don't have opportunity. It's not that they are not intelligent, but somehow or other they will, you know, sidelined because people at the downside have more advantages in terms of be able to go for tuition, you know, be able to get laptops, you know, the internet access. But you When you are poor, obviously that is not primary, that is secondary. So um, that is the last effort of the government. Think yourself as the government. It is better for you to apply to the general group rather than going in each individual and trying to make them understand, think for themselves. Okay, so if you look at our education system, it is more towards giving to everyone, yeah, giving the chance to everyone, and hopefully those who take up, then it's up to them to change themselves. It is not about concentrating on individuals to know how to think. It is about I just give you the opportunity. If you are able to take it, then good for you. Does that mean a classical period the government put more effort because it took them, it took the it looked to the citizen individually in order for, to make them available to think and question? Yeah, it is. Kalau you look at the, I think the video that I passed it over to you. Over in the period of Greek, yeah, classical period, the Greeks, the Romans, they are encouraging people to think. That is why we has the sophists. Yeah, Sophia is love of thinking, right? Meaning you have the art of argument, art of thinking, yeah, generally. So it is being highly promoted in the society back then. Uh, because of that, then we have thinkers that is able to promote this type of thinking, and by them producing books, and those books we are actually referring to them until today. Yeah, I think 1,000 years from now, if the world never ends, by then we will be looking at those books. Yeah, and those book becomes of our guidance. In fact, if you go into or we go to Islamic scholars, so Islamic scholars after the Prophet, mainly the at one time they were moving forward with what they call it, civilization. So thinking is one thing that is most important in the Islamic civilization then. So when uh, uh, Ibn Rushd, ya, siapa lagi ya? A few of them, I can't recall them now, but they are referring to books of Plato, Aristotle as guidance. Okay, um, yeah, that is the classical period. And if you look at Christianity, yeah, both Islam and Christian are in limbo at one time, because we have Imam Ghazali in saying that education, you know, the Western education is something that is corrupting the society. In fact, if you look at our demise as Islamic civilization, we were once knowing everything about the world. We were the one. Can you imagine the university in Al Azhar, Cairo, the first university in terms of modern world? Um, they have thousands of books as compared to a king, yeah, in England at, during the same time, only have a collection of roughly about 20 books. That's it. Yeah. So we were very, very much advanced because the way that we are able to think on top of the requirement of the religion. Okay. Right. Thank you, Alisa. Meaning you asking me to stop. All right. Questions. Um, let's look at the example of jurisprudential approach applied by this particular judge in a case where it involved 30 years old single mother who offered sexual services to a man who was sentenced to 6 strokes of the cane and 6 month jail by Terengganu Syariah High Court. Okay, uh, looking at this particular situation, the question might arise is that what do you think of the jurisprudential approach? Anyone?
Think the judge opt into the modern approach.
Modern approach, very good. Yeah, it's a blanket approach rather than understanding the problem of that particular person, why she is like that. Because the word 30 years old single mother, mother means she has child, single meaning she is out of a relationship. Yeah? She is not somebody else wife. She is divorced. So, single mother maybe because she had kids without wedlock. Whatever it is not something also concerned by the judge. Yeah, the judge is more towards looking at the situation, the offense, rather than the person. Okay, so the approach is by applying a classical. What does it approach in classical? Obviously, you have seen or said that it is a modern approach. If he was to approach this problem differently, can the decision be any different? Yeah, conservative meaning Shazana. Conservative meaning he doesn't want to be bothered with the situation of why she's like that. What will happen to the child if she were to go to jail? What will happen to the future of the child? Not being brought up by by their own mothers. People don't care. Very few people that cares about child upbringing if they are not theirs. So kalau anak angkat ni selalunya diketepikan, nama pun anak angkat. So itu yang or anak yang tak ada parents ya. So that is why Rasulullah said that we have to take care of them more. Why? Because the mental state of those child is going to be in limbo, right? So coming back, what if the classical approach to be applied? Anyone? You can type if you don't want to talk. Clueless of what I'm asking you. the yeah.
If we were to take the classical approach, shouldn't it be like less jail time, or like probably like the judge should have further understand like why is the mother
Yes.
taking to offer sexual services instead of like blindly punishing her, to understand like
Yes.
what
Yes.
situation forces her to decide so.
You see, when you do that, it involves a lot of thinking, right? It involves a lot of rational thinking, critical thinking. So some, when I don't know, maybe you end up as a judge later on, you have thousands of cases that is waiting, hundreds of cases that are waiting in your court. So you have to be very fast in making, your justice available to the society. So you implement the law, the approach of a modern style. So if you were to apply the individual style, it would take more time and then to investigate more. There would be, yeah, admin, did I pronounce your name? Admin, yeah. Okay. There would be probably less jail time. Yeah, yeah. That is, I think the approach that is being applied in the Western world nowadays. That it is more about the law. It is about the individual. To correct the individual is much better than to impose the law. Yeah. At times, you look at night courts. Yeah, in the US through the WhatsApp through the YouTube or maybe the Facebook. Yeah, you see judges that make decision. Yeah, during the night time, and then they are recorded, the decision that they make is much more practical, much more reasonable, because they are able to spend more time to rectify the problem. Yeah. So if you were to rectify this problem, how do you rectify it? So you look at that the comments. Yeah. After that, if you ask this question, then if you look at those questions coming from the society, is it a valid statement by Garrett Lau? What happened to the guy who engaged her? If you have a sexual relationship between two persons, though she might be selling the service, but the one that is buying the service, what happened to that guy? This reminds me a lot of the days of Jesus, Nabi Isa, where he was brought a woman who committed adultery. Yeah, so the sentence was to stone anyone who commit adultery to death. But the question might be, what happened to the guy who committed the crime? What happened to him? Okay. Ridiculous. This is from Antares. The ridiculous misrule by congenital control freaks addicted to weighing, wielding bogus powers over others. Why don't you control yourself before trying to control others? What does it mean? Yeah. So he is directing towards the male, yeah, unable to do things, to control themselves from involving themselves in these activities. Did the judge feel any remorse for his decision to punish a woman of weaker sex for earning a living? This is more liberal approach. He can sit up there, earn good income, and obviously, like the past cavemen, know nothing about life. Okay. Uh, let's look at from a person of a Muslim. What is the use of caning her while she could still suffering and her child would be have no one to look after? What bodoh system? Then we have Lily. The Malays got to wake up. The Sharia law bypass is utterly rubbish. The judge do not even understand the judgment that he has issued is not educational but destructive to the woman, where she has not asked herself to be a prostitute. She and her kids needs to live. Past have got to be thrown out of Kelantan and Terengganu if the Malays need to have a decent life. So this is some people's opinion about the decision. Yeah, what do you think? Remember, in my class, put Islamic principle aside. You are to leave your Islamic principle. Yeah, you need more facts. Then, Amira, it's good because you need to study her facts in more detail. Is this a second offense, third offense, you know? And okay, what can be done about that particular person if you are applying the classical approach? If you are in power, the men need to be punished too. Yes, correct, good. What else? Punishing alone is not settling the problem. Remember this slide, right? Where is the slide? Right? How do you settle this so-called individual? If you are to correct the individual, obviously the person would not go against the law. If you correct the individual to be able to change themselves and see what is right, what is wrong. Obviously, she know what is right, what is wrong, but the individual is not being emphasized by the law. I mean, by the government. In this case, the Sharia court, meaning the state. Yeah. because Sharia is under the purview of the state. So the government, the state government, should be able to look at individuals rather than looking at just implementing the law. Obviously, it's more faster. The government need to come up with something to help her economically. Yeah. And how do you do that? She won't be involved in prostitution if have no financial difficulties. In terms of Shazana, we do have Islamic, what do you call it, what do you call it, zakat. What happened to the zakat? You see the implementation of zakat. That is not. Come on, are you saying that God is wrong in coming up with a system of zakat? You know, the implementation is wrong. It's not the system that is wrong. Yeah, to understand her needs. Yeah, if I just Ruby, yeah, if you compare, I have a story that I want to share with you. There is a girl, mother who have recently divorced, and then from the internet, and she have a child. She doesn't have the opportunity to find work, and she is desperate where the child is hungry. She went to the mosque and asked for her rights under the system of money that is being collected. You know very well when you go to masjid, any masjid during the Friday prayers. Okay, last week our collection was 3,500. The previous week the total collection is going to be like 20,000. I mean the what they call it, the masjid, the mosque, they have tons of money. But if you have a person asking for that, they say that this is not my money, therefore I have to bring it to the committee, and the committee has to make a decision, which is correct, which is understood. But if you compare that situation that happens to this person, under the story, she went to the church, and obviously the church give her the money that she wanted without any question. All she needs to do is just write in into the book, the registrar, and in order for them to, do a follow up with her, if she has a phone lah. That thing, I was thinking of conducting a civil, social, what do you call it, testing, social experiment. So I was thinking of doing the same thing, asking my student to go to pause and then pretending that they have difficulties financially, and then ask the to look at how the mosque, yeah, respond. It I was talking to the to my father-in-law, and he said no need. Yeah, he's a lecturer of law, lecturer of UiTM Perak, used to pension lah. He said no need, because if I were to share with you, I saw with my own eyes the same situation. She went to the mosque, I was there, she was asking money, desperate, crying, the baby was hungry, and then the mosque says they can't give. And then after a few weeks after that, because living in a small area, the tendency is to bound to see each other again. So my father saw her and asked her, did she get the money that she wanted from the mosque? She said no. And then, so what happened to you right now? I got some money was given to me by the church. And he asked what happened in the church. Do they go through that process of asking her and saying that, no question was asked. All she needs to do is to write her name in the register, and they give her money. So the question that I want to raise here is that if you have the authority, that you are the Sharia court person, should you inquire about what happened to the man? You inquire about what happened to the money that is supposed to be given to a single mother. That is the category that is stated by our Rasulullah. So what happened? You see, in Selangor, we have collection of millions, and then you look at the things that they equip themselves with jabatan zakat, new cars, new building, where the money comes. Don't you tell that? Don't you tell me that you are getting the money from the one that is like that? If it's being used, then it's wrong. If it's not, it's coming from the state. Why not the money to be spent on those area? Okay. This is just some questions. Yeah. The requirement that we need to fulfill in order to get the financial support is so strict. Yeah, true. Amira, we have been hearing of this, right? When I went to what do you call it, Islamic center that near the masjid, right? We have the Islamic building, two building, yeah, next to the mosque in Shah Alam. So I went there. I was waiting for me to see one of the person that is in authority of that. So from 9 o'clock until 10:30, I was waiting, and then that person, I was asking, where is that person? I wanted to see. He is a person that is head of that department. Um, then only that person is giving excuses, or he is unable to attend because he had something up. And I asked that person, meaning the person that I engaged with, that this actually, you are the one who called me for this particular time. When you make the arrangement, obviously you should be able to foresee that people have to go out from their work environment in order to come to your institution, and then yet you are giving a lame excuse. I don't mind about me because I am a lecturer in UiTM, which is very near, and then I'm lecturing, so I can, I got some free time. But what happened to those people? I am referring to those people. There were numbering of what, like 15 of them waiting. I said, these guys are coming from rural areas. They have to forgo the income that they are getting for the day, and then they have to trouble themselves taking public transport in order for them to come over. And looking at them, you know that they are not wealthy. How can you, as a person that is handling this issue, cannot do something that is able to help them out? And then I blew up lah. I kata, no wonder lah orang jadi kafir. Yeah? Because the way that you handle things, in a way that it is not Islamic at all. And those people yang duduk parti, kata, dia orang tepuk, bukan tepuk tangan lah, tapi angkat jari tunjuk, best. But they dare not fight the institution for their rights. But they have less legal knowledge. When people like us, we know our rights. We know what they are supposed to do. So when we utter those type of questions to them, then they got intimidated. So who cares? As far as you are the one that is getting salary from somebody, obviously you are answerable to somebody that is higher. I can go higher than that. Okay? I can make complaints and things like that. Okay, so yeah, government needs to make clear laws so people is able to know. When people are able to know, meaning people are able to think, whether the act is right or wrong. Punish her by social services, why not? But pay her the services, in a way, you give the opportunity for her to, find. If we have a problematic person, she loves sex so much, then she wants to, get additional income from the pastime, from her activities. That is a different issue lah. That is something that we need to tackle also. But what I'm trying to say is, looking at the application of the law nowadays is more general rather than individual in nature. This is another approach. Okay. So, what can we conclude whenever a person, in this case a judge, applies the classical approach, rational thinking, rather than modern approach? So it can be more, because you are the judge, you are in the Sharia court, you can always have your friends or your subordinate or any division, other division, you can bring them up, saying that what happened to this girl in terms of her social well-being, what happened to the father. Is the father paying her his portion of taking care of the child, so those are the things that we need to do. Does it make any difference in the outcome? Obviously, yeah. In the long run, you should be able to change the society. Orang kata letih lah, but I think it will produce a better result, yeah, rather than punishing her or anyone going to jail. Yeah, you know very well, people who are less criminal tendency, when they go to jail, they become a lot worse than they were before when they come in. Will the effect of such decision a long-lasting one? Hopefully, it would be in a position that it would last longer. Would it make a change to the society more? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know whether you guys what do you think? Agree or disagree? You can disagree if you want to. There is no, what do you call it? Tiada paksaan, There is no la ikra fi din, There is no force, or in religion. Do you think it would make the society change in a better position?
Yes.
Yeah. So taxing in a way that you might be doing the same thing later on. So how do you find law? Of course, definitely from one person to another. But sir, there are some person who love to be in jail. Yeah, Alisa, betul. Because they have to commit crime in order for them to be in jail, right? Because that is the only way that they can take care of. We actually sponsor people. How much per day that we are sponsoring? I think roughly about 20 ringgit, right? Roughly about 10 to 20 ringgit, yeah, per person. So the rakyat is sponsoring them to stay alive. But they did not change much. When they go out, they will commit the crime again. Yeah, a rapist will always rape. A person who steal always steal. Never change. Right. Question. So yeah. Anyone? I'm hearing someone wanted to ask question. Siapa? Dengar suara. Siapa? Mujahid. Yeah, Mujahid. Any question that you want to ask? Oh, tak ada. Okay. So does the
Sorry.
no, it's okay. It's okay. So does the people who are knowledgeable in law, obviously they have the same question juga kan? Yeah, Mujahid, tolong off ni. So does people who are knowledgeable in law. Obviously lah, kalau you yourself, do you have some kind of variance in terms of your thinking over a subject matter in terms of law? Obviously, the same thing for jurists. Yeah? We have to look at how jurists define law in order to justify our point of view, as they have done this over thousands of years or hundreds of years. Yeah? So next one, we look at, so what are the jurist definition of law? Here we look at the two main differences. Yeah, one is descriptive, one is normative. Yeah, what do you mean by descriptive? Meaning describe. Yeah, the one do not analyze but describe. The law is law. You don't decipher the law. You don't comment about the law. It is what it is. Yeah, if the sentence is A, then the sentence is A. That's law, right? So descriptive approach is being applied by the judge. Yeah, you commit the crime, so you pay for the crime that you committed. Okay, it is what it is. Yeah, describe what law is, and then explain why the law is as it is, explanatory. Yeah, so whatever consequences, if you look at penal code, it is more towards this what they call it, this approach, descriptive. Prescriptive, you prescribe, which is a normative approach. Normative approach is more flexible as compared to descriptive. Descriptive is objective, either A or B or C. Prescriptive is more towards subjective in terms of how people ought to behave, i.e., whether it is order, directive, instruction. It is more flexible. Yeah, yang atas tu more rigid, but this one is more natural, relaxed, and it can define in so many ways, depending on how you see things. So these two groups is the one that we can actually see in our society in terms of juries. So the juries is divided into positivists and naturalists for the time being, descriptive and prescriptive. There are many others, but for the time being, the two things that I want you to highlight, to realize is that there is an East group and then there is an odd group. Okay, and this the East odd group was the one that can be seen way back this 17. We have David Hume who stated that this is stronger than that. The argument from Plato, Aristotle, and before that, also the is and odd argument has been always been there. Yeah. So, but David Hume is putting it in proper argument base, where he says that this statement in terms of the is this more descriptive in nature, the odd is more prescriptive in nature, meaning more relaxed, more subjective. This is what he called as Hume law or Hume guillotine. Guillotine means yang tempat pancung tu kan, yang jatuh atas kepala orang tu. Either A or B, you live or you die. Okay, so next, we are going to look at the positivist perspective here, and then this, if you apply this, they formulate the cause of regularities or regularities of nature. Yeah, so they go along the science, of the science of nature, meaning it is what it is lah. Say for example, you don't eat, you die. Yeah, you don't drink, you die. You get old, you die. It is a science. It is looking at the science of the nature itself, and then it is based on scientific or empirical perspective. Okay, so people will be scientists. They are very objective people. Yeah, and that is why scientists. We look at scientists. They don't believe in God because God is subjective. Subjective in a way that you have to think more, and it can be interpreted in so many ways. Therefore, we have so many gods. That in with so many religion, right? So interpretation of God, not so many gods. In fact, kalau in Hindu pun they believe in one God, but translated into so many uh, so many other gods. Christianity believes in one God, but it can be divided into three. So Jews one, Islam one. Okay, whatever it is more subjective. Yeah, as far as scientists, they are non-believers, agnostic, depending. Yeah, but they are more towards scientific rather than subjective. So let's look at some of the East jurists in order for us to be aware what is in their mind. And when they come up with their own theory, this is to determine, for us to determine what would be the law that they are trying to say, where the law can be categorized into East. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay, let's look at the first one, Jeremy Bentham. I'm going to go very fast. There's few more slides before we end the session. I will passing the video to you for your discuss for your further enhancements. Yeah, because you do have your what they call it PDF that was given by Cik Nazim under the list here, so you should be able to read them. But this person is jurist, is jurist, Jeremy Bentham. you have learned about him, he says that law is about happiness. Law is happiness. If the law can provide the greatest happiness to the greatest number of people, then the law is good. If the law do not bring in happiness to the number of the greatest number of the people in the society, then the law is not good. So whatever law you come about is basically is about bringing happiness. For example, the formula is putting up saying that you are to maximize pleasure, you maximize the pleasure, yeah, and minimize the pain. Yeah, it is more materialistic because people who are materialistic, they are very focused, yeah, in the ease, in the reality of things. Um, Maximize pleasure. Obviously, everyone wants to maximize the pleasure that they want, and then they want to also minimize the pain. So, in you combine these two, then you get the ultimate happiness. I give you one example: Land Acquisition Act, a law that is being implemented to bring in happiness to the society. How about the Land Acquisition Act can bring happiness? Because if, say, for example, you have a piece of land, your father has a piece of land in your kampong, you know, in your kampong, and one day the authorities come to your father and says and give him a letter and saying that we want half of your land because your land is sitting right in the middle of our highway that we're going to uh, create. Okay, so imagine the difficulties that was faced by people when PLAS, Project Lebuh Raya Utara Selatan, about to start. So obviously they have to give up their land. Can you imagine those people in Kedah who have land on either side of the road? They have to go to land on the left side and then go straight to a bridge where they can take the bridge, bring their equipment to the other side, and then go back to the. Can you imagine the difficulties that they are facing? But the enjoyment of the society is much better derived from the activity of the road, meaning the existence of the road, as compared to the happiness that you bring to individual when they are able to cultivate their own land. You know, so you please only one person by allowing that person to enjoy his land, but you please so many others if you were to use this law, and this law should be able to bring happiness to the greatest number of people. If you look at tax, yeah, taxation law, the same thing. You take from the rich and give it to the poor, meaning the money that you get from the rich people who pay tax, yeah, a certain amount of people, if they reach a certain amount of income, they have to pay tax, and the tax will be used for the general public utilities in terms of the road, in terms of uh, you know, services, and then what else, paying the government agency, police, army, all those people like in agency, custom, and things like that. They are sponsored by this tax money, right? We are going to have a budget soon, so that amount of money is that is derived from the tax being used to the society. Right. So that is how Jeremy Bentham actually he has the calculation of how much happiness, that there is a formula that we will inshallah try to go into later on. But basically what he's saying is law is not ought. Law is happiness. The next person, we are going to look at the main thing, the main person of positivist. He says that law is command. Yeah, law is command. Command of whom? Command of the sovereign. If you don't follow the command, then you will be punished. Yeah, that is his particular statement when it comes to law. And I think it's true. If you're in power, then therefore whatever you say is going to be command. And if you look online uh, for YouTube videos, yeah, maybe commentary on Brunei, yeah, being a place of a command, by the king, because sovereign is an issue with Austin, because he was living in the era where you have kings, but you don't have a strong government like what we are what we have today. So the king, like for example, Saudi Arabia, we have Brunei. They are the law is ultimately in their hands. Yeah? For the king of Brunei, the application of Sharia law is mandated as a decree by the king that is to be applied to everyone else. Some say that it has been applied to everyone else, but not their family. Okay, so Saudi Arabia, you can kill people, beheaded people, and at the same time, you can send people outside your country to kill other people, kidnap other people, and you are not being sentenced if you say that you are applying Islamic law, right? So this is where Austin is saying law is a command. Yeah. Any questions so far? Had law, he says, is authority. Had in support of Austin. So he says that okay, fine. We don't have authorities in terms of kings nowadays, but we do have authority in terms of parliament. Yeah, in terms of the agencies or legal institution that we created in order for the institution to do the part, and they are empowered under the delegated legislation and things like that. So he says that it is based on authority that is given to you, and you have to respect them. But he do have some kind of argument in terms of how to differentiate this authority, whether it is valid or not. The primary rules and secondary rules, we will go into detail of that. It's just this just an introduction, bird's eye view of those people of this group. So he says that any primary rules that you come up with, you need also to have a secondary rules in order for you to validate the primary rules. They work hand in hand, these rules. One example that I can give to you is that you don't use this example. Remember in exam, until you got explain. Uh, give my example and put it back in the finals. It's wrong for you to do that. I give example for us to easy understand. For example, for the Muslim salat, it is asked of us to do salat. That is the primary rules. The primary rules of the Muslim is the Quran. Yeah, in the primary rules there is a statement that Allah asks us to pray to Him, to submit to Him. Right? How do you submit? By praying. Yeah, to do what He wants you to do. But how to do it? Yeah, in berapa rakaat, how to sujud, how to rokok, how to itidal and things like that. That comes from the hadith, which is the secondary rules. So, in a way that the hadith is supporting the primary rules, so they work hand in hand. And if we do have secondary rules but not primary rules, the law will collapse. If you have primary rules, we don't have secondary rules, the law also will collapse. Okay, we need to have a primary rules and secondary rules in order for it to happen. So basically, what Hart is saying that law is about authority. Carlson says that law is science. Yeah, science, because if we look at law in terms of norm of the society, meaning the normative way of looking at it can be in various ways depending on who you are. Because if you are the group that naturalists, if you look at naturalists, it can be various in terms of the religious perspective, in terms of the historical perspective, in terms of what else, in terms of the rational thinking that you might have. So this so-called definition of law is ambiguous. So what Carlson is promoting is that law is actually a science that we can study we have to eliminate all unnecessary what they call debt from the law. Yeah, he called it more or less the unwanted elements that is affecting the law. So the law is a science, and therefore, if you study the law in a scientific manner, legal science in nature, then you should be able to identify whether the law is valid or not. Okay, so that is, we are going to look into detail how he comes about the pure theory of law, and then the area of what we call it Granum. Yeah. Next, Emily Durkheim. Yeah, Emily Durkheim. He says that law is actually society, because if you look at the facts of the law, law represent what the society needs. Yeah, in our society, it is based on what we want. Yeah. So what do we want? We have a fact that we use when we apply Article 153 under the federal constitution, because we say that this is what the reality of the society. The society is imbalanced. We want to achieve the balancing. In order to achieve the balancing, we cannot afford to give everyone the right. We have to give some quarters or some group more advantage, but not stopping the disadvantage, you know. And this is what we call what the society wants. Law is society, because he is a sociologist. Sociologists believe that the law is based on what the society wants. Yeah, so it is a approach of a sociologist point of view. And then the last one, we look at Karl Marx. Law is oppression. Yeah, law to him is about oppression or abuse. Yeah, law is abuse or oppression, because he sees that he saw that law is being manipulated by those who are in power in order for them to control the society. Yeah, and that is the reality of things. You cannot run away from the fact that law has been used in order to give advantage to some quarters. Uh, Last night, somebody asked me about uh, COVID-19, the perintah berkurung, right? The punishment. You see some people goes to jails. You see ministers not being punished adequately as the same with the society. So if you look at what the society wants, obviously society doesn't care who you are. Yeah, you might say that you're a minister, but you are a person in the society. You are just a simple human being in that society. If law is to be applied in Article 7 and saying that everyone is equal in the application of the law, if you apply to A, then apply to B the same. So, but law is oppression. Yeah, because the tendency of people who are in power to utilize the law to give them more advantage than other people. Then this can be in so many perspectives. If you look and ponder about the law that we have, there is a chance that you will see all the lights of this group of people, and Kamak is one of them. So, okay, that's it for today. Any questions that you want to ask?
So I have a confusion.
Yes.
So in the positive point of view, they describe that what law is. So we have to follow it.
Mm-mm.
Like we have to follow it. Despite what law says, we have to follow it. But in
Yeah.
most, like in the view of the jurists, like for example, like in Jeremy Bentham, he said
Mm-hmm.
that law is good and just when it brings the greatest happiness.
Mm-mm.
So isn't that a bit contradictory? Because law isn't just about justice. Law sometimes it's about morality. Sometimes it's about like focusing on the bigger picture, on the public benefit rather than the personal benefit. Isn't that a
Yeah.
bit contradictory?
Yeah, if you see each one of them, they are saying about they are in the same group, right? The each group, but each one of them is seeing the law differently. Yeah. So we have happiness, we have command, we have authority, we have science, we have society, we have oppression. So yes, Bentham is saying that law is about happiness. This is from his perspective. Remember the six blind person describing the elephant. So the same thing here. They are looking at one particular element, but which is law, which they agree that it is a factual thing. You don't need to go into detail of discovering it. It is what it is. The law, if you look at it, it is about bringing happiness. If the law is, as what you said just now, it is more about justice. What does justice means? Justice means eventually, if you analyze it, it is all about happiness. Justice to whom? Justice to all. Justice to all is about what? It's about the ability to bring happiness to the people at the end of the day. You work because of what? You need money. Why you need money? You need to survive. Why do you need to survive? You need to survive just because you are a human being, right? But why people are fighting and trying to make themselves rich? Because every one of us is trying to find happiness. Why do we have movies of in Indian movies, like Bollywood, is all about happiness? Because that is what people want. People are not poor. People are poor. When they go to the movies, they don't want to reflect their poorness that they are in. They just want to feel happy. And how to feel happy? By looking at good things, nice things, happy things in the movies. I don't know. Did I answer you correctly? Are you satisfied with my answer?
Yes, sir.
You can disagree. It's okay. Yeah, it's not the time for you to accept everything, because this is the place where we can argue and say this is my approach, and this is where what they are saying. Sure.
I understand, sir, and I think I agree
Yeah.
with you.
Yes. And we have law legalizing slavery in the US be deemed a valid law according to the positivist perspective. Yeah, it depends on how it is being applied at that point of time. If you apply law of slavery, it is about happiness. It is not about happiness of the slave people, which is the minority. It is about the people who are at the majority. Majority of the society is about them to get that happiness at the at this uh, getting this small group of people to suffer. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay for them to do that. Some of them at that point of time, if you read, they were against obviously against slavery. However, they themselves have to agree, because if they were to fight against slavery, because slavery costs nothing, they pay initial cost for the slave, and then they don't have to maintain much. They treat like dirt, and then half of them, 50% of the population of several million that was brought from Africa to United States, they died. Yeah, they died before they reach that destination. You can look online how was the treatment of the transatlantic slavery that took place. Yeah, and it depends on how they want to say that is legal. But eventually, they went to war, civil war, in order for them to stick. Which one is more? Which one is more powerful? So this is the society. If say, for example, the South win, obviously we might see differently today. Slavery might be continuing as in Islam. There might be a question that why slavery uh, is not eliminated. Under Islam, slavery is allowed. That does not mean that we promote. So there's the kawin part. doesn't mean that the religion allows that you have to go and kahwin empat. But some people are looking at that particular sentence and say, no, it's my right. This is given by under the Quran, stated clearly. I want to kahwin empat. But there is a general rule and exception. So in that particular surah, the general rule is not about kahwin empat. The general rule is the kahwinlah satu sekiranya tidak boleh adil. That is the general rule. If you are able to adil, then the exception comes in that you can kahwin empat. But people, you know, right, since they are legislated by authority and sanction are imposed. So if you apply that, if you apply, say, for example, slavery from command, this is what the law from the perspective of command, of the sovereign. So in US, you don't have sovereign king, but it is the authority from heart. It is the authority. So you cannot go two way about it. If you don't agree with the authority, then at the end, as what happened in US, they went to war, civil war. They fight each other for that. Okay, happiness can only be for a certain group, not necessarily all. Majority, yeah. If you balance it between the society, if it's more than 50%, then it should be good law. Yeah. Normally, it is the more that you can derive happiness from the society, the more better the law. Yeah. So if you can get 90% of the happiness in the society, like tax, yeah, tax. How many people that is being taxed? I think about 20% of the society is being taxed, but the benefit derived for the society is greater. You know, if you ask those people paying tax, like people like me, I don't want to pay tax because I work hard. People are working hard, like for example those in the private sector, they like pukul 3, 4 pagi tidur, you know, in order for them to produce income, increase income from those people yang tak nak kerja, yang malas. But yeah, how come when they have this amount of money, but the government say, excuse me, pay the tax. If you don't pay tax, we are going to take action against you. Is it fair? It's not fair. But how do you argue? This is what Austin says. Sorry, or Austin or Hart says that too bad it is the people who are in power. If you look at Marx, you see that, wait, this is not fair. This is oppression. The law is being utilized for the benefit of certain people. When certain people are getting, you know, we can see people. If you look at the distribution of wealth, what they call it, the graph. So the richer is getting, the rich is getting richer, the poor is getting poorer. Yeah, and then we have what 100 people of the world is controlling about 70% or 80% of the wealth in the world. Doesn't make sense, yeah. Right. Soalan.
So I have a question.
Yeah, Mujahid. Mujahid,
so,
Mujahid.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this jurist, Emily Durham, says that law is society. But how does this reconcile with the idea that, sorry sir, I write.
Tak apa, it's okay.
How does this reconcile with the positivist view which states that law is whatever the sovereign commands?
So what I'm trying to do here today is that the ability for you to see the differences within the group itself. So they are very objective looking at the law, and they have no two ways of looking the law. Each one of them have their own mind or interpretation of the law. And if you ask them, they will only stick to what they think it is. Yeah. And each one of them is very determined in saying that this is the only way. Yeah. Looking at the law. Just like the video that I've shown you, shared with you. because they would want to be able to stick to what they are saying. But we, as the person that looking in, we can see that all of them are correct, but all of them are also incorrect. And that is what we are supposed to do. We are learning about people. We are learning about how do this jurist says about law. However, we have the chance of choosing either one of them to be our. We cannot apply everyone, you know, in a way. Everyone. When I say everyone, even if you take East as your guidance, even they themselves differs. Yeah. What if you take everyone else? Yeah, everyone else, you take historical, you take Islamic, and then you take natural, you take the positivist, then it will be Caca Merbah. Can you explain further on the point number 5 of Karl Marx slide? Okay, good. Yeah, I like this type of questions that you want to ask. Good, eh? For those, point number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Law is according to the bourgeoisie applied towards the proletariat, utilizing the economic system as a tool to enforce the laws and regulation. If you look at the online, if you look at Karl Marx triangle of distribution of authority, you will see a pyramid where those people that is staying on top would be called defined as bourgeoisies. Yeah, so bourgeoisies are those people in power. The government actually in our situation, our reality of life today, it is not about the parliament. People of parliament, they are not in power. Dia macam apa? Illuminati, yeah. It's just like Illuminati, whereby who is actually controlling everyone? The law. Who is controlling the law? What do you think? No? Siapa? Do you think parliament? I don't think so.
No, I think the Jewish maybe.
No, no. The one that you have learned dekat Asasi. Asasi law and economy. Law and economy.
The executive?
Yeah, pardon?
Is it the executive?
The executive, no? No. Even Muhyiddin pun, if you look at him, he's struggling to stay in power. Actually, there are people that is higher than that, yeah. Meaning the executive, the judiciary bawah, bawah the executive. So kalau you tengok that can you like browse? I just want to share kalau macam ni lah, kejap lah cari dia. Let me see. Kalau you go to the image part of Karl Marx, then obviously there's a lot of okay, you have this. Hold on, there's a Wikipedia picture of that. Are you seeing this? Proletariat and so on? Dia nampak?
Yes, sir.
Nampak, sir.
Okay. You look at this. This is the pyramid that I'm talking about. The pyramid of capitalist system. The system that we are applying actually capitalist nature. We are not applying the communist or Karl Marx system. Yeah. This is the reality that we are facing in our society today. We apply the capitalism, and you look up that we rule for you. Tak boleh usah. Okay. We rule for you, we fool you, we shoot you, and we eat for you, and we are the last group. We work for all, we feed all. You die, you struggle, you stress out because it so happened that the people, the system that you are applying, the capitalism system, whereby if you look at this, who is holding this power? The MNC, yeah? The multinational corporation. They are actually in power of the whole world. Okay, they are the Illuminatis that we can see. They are controlling the countries, by virtue of the politics that they apply to control whoever in power of that country in order for the benefit to be able to get. Yeah, towards the end is the benefit getting is get to be derived at the end of the day is for the capitalists. Yeah. So the kings are working, or we see lawyers, preachers, and member of parliaments. Actually, he is saying that we are working for those people, the capitalists. They are the evil people. Yeah. So this is where if you apply the system, then the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer. The base is getting bigger and bigger, but the upper is getting narrower and narrower. Okay. Uh, Hopefully you see that. We will cover this under juris tu. Lah, patutnya I tak introduce pun Mark. Sorry about that. Just to have something, Okay, soalan. Any questions that you want to ask regarding the what do you call it? The mana dia tadi? Oh, dah hilang dah. Sorry. Questions, guys? Tak ada? Simple lah. Tak adalah susah sangat juris ni. Biasa je. So you might be confused in which one I nak follow ni. Tak apalah, mana-mana. You are studying them, not to force anyone that of them to be able to force you to follow. It is a choice for you to apply. When it comes to exam, what you need to do is to highlight. This guy says A, this guy says B, this guy says C. In order for me to settle this issue, if there is an issue given, the question is asking you how to settle this problem, you would say I can choose either one of them. If you say, for example, Austin, then you can say this is how Austin sees the problem, and this is how he thinks the problem can be resolved. If you say Bentham, then you will have to state what Bentham thinks, how he derived the happiness, and then the law is justified. The problem is justified by virtue of the law because that particular problem is going to be resolved by the happiness of the law. Depends on which one that you choose. Okay, setakat ni you ada, I think 5 that you have to remember. I think you have to reject Karl Marx. Sorry, I bring it in just to give you some comparative analysis, but we are going to go deep into Marxism in Juris 2. Soalan? Did I share my slide? Oh God. Yeah, soalan, guys. If there is none, then I think we end the session today. Yeah. Boleh? No question, eh? Okay, right. Thank you so much for coming. I will be passing the recording later on. This video and also some other videos for you to look at. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, sir.
Remember, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
remember to sign in your attendance.
Alright.
Ini 55 saja. Alright, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Guys, make sure you off
Thank you,
go
sir.
out from the system, otherwise it will be a 5 hour punya video recording, so you have to disconnect.
Alright, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.